Did I get fucking shot? How the fuck did that get there? Damn, motherfucker, that had been causing a short. I was like, what the fuck about? I touched this.
Ooh.
It was touching the fence.
Oh my goodness.
That. So I don't know where the hell this come from. Had me touching that. The calves get used to people then, because you know the calves don't see people much. I'm kind of the only human they've seen. A lot of times they're 2 or 3 weeks old before they see me.
About.
So you were asking about chicory?
I was.
And so we have wild feral chicory, you know, it's been brought in, probably was brought in from, I don't think it's a native, probably was brought in the 1800s. And just like anything else, the cultivar varieties that you buy, the seed varieties are going to be a lot leafier and thicker. These develop a rosette and then get bolt very quickly and get stemmy. And being this an old gravel pit, there's a lot of waste ground here and gravelly ground, and it kind of ironically grows in those sites, like along roads, very infertile sites. But when you plant the cultivar type or the, you know, the seed varieties, you're supposed to have very fertile ground to get chicory to grow. But here you don't see as much anymore because they do graze the hell out of this. You can see right here, here's a chicory plant. That stem was grazed right down.
They like it.
Here's chicory here, because you were asking about that. Here's, yep, and it doesn't have a chance to really grow much anymore, that big, because they through the years have grown it down. Here's another species you don't hear much about anymore called black medic. They might call it deer vetch or something. I had to look it up.
Yeah, that's a vetch.
Yeah, years ago, well, it's not really a vetch. What we call vetch, I'll show you a vetch. This was planted years ago, I think, before alfalfa became the queen of forages. You can still get seed extremely expensive, but it's called black medic. It volunteers, comes up on lawns, but it's a legume and they graze it. But after years of grazing here, I've got a lot of, you know, tall fescue came in here. Fescue seems to grow on heavy clay, crappy soils. We don't usually have a lot of fescue this far north, but all of a sudden, I think it's with us getting warmer every year, we're starting to see a lot of fescue.
So it adds nitrogen to the soil, doesn't it? As a legume?
The legume does, yes. Yeah, you bet. And that gives nitrogen to these grasses to grow. So you can see it here. Now this is trefoil. This is bird's foot trefoil. And I got hay fields of bird's foot that I plant on purpose. But again, the varieties you buy from seed company will grow a lot taller. You know. Here's chicory right here, so it's in here. Just it doesn't bolt anymore here because they get it. They're used to it. If you bring cattle over here to this farm that aren't on this, they treat it as a weed. It takes them a while to start eating this stuff.
Yeah, they have to develop a taste for it.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. And I don't know what she's gnawing on. She's in there. She's in there in that stand of staghorn sumac.
So who do we have here?
Well, so she's eating some phragmites and she's down there eating that tall fescue. And she's grazing. They look fat. So some of this I am rotational grazing now. It's really tough terrain, but I got some spots where I run the poly wire up and down the slope real quick. If you start getting water, you got potential for regrowth. Then I'll block some areas off, let them regrow. You were asking about flies. Yeah, we're starting to see flies about this time of year. The gravel pit next door has colonies of thousands of bank swallows. Those things migrate in like around the 1st of August. They're one of the earlier swallows besides purple martins that go back earlier. Oh. You'll see a big uptick in flies as soon as those swallows head south.
Oh.
So
we need more bats.
I've done back rubbers and oilers and made my own and mixed it with the diesel fuel and permethrin. And permethrin, there's synthetic and organic permethrin. It's pretty much
Pyrethrum?
pyrethrum. Is that what?
Yeah, yeah.
No, I think it's permethrin too, isn't it? Is it?
Well, maybe.
And the insects develop resistance to it because it's so commonly used. And I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, they see a difference if they spray their cattle, but I don't. Remember shoeing horses or something? You got a horse in cross ties and you put fly spray all over them, and 10 seconds later a fly lands on them?
Yeah, it's like you're feeding the flies.
You can't really convince me there's much going on that fly spray helps. If I had them up in a barnyard and they had no vegetation to go under or rub up against, I would get it. You probably in a feedlot got to spray the hell out of them or oil them, and maybe you get some effect, but I just don't think fly spray or back rubbers have any effect on the cattle. I stopped using it years ago after I saw zero effect. Same with livestock dust in the late winter when they start shedding and you'll get some lice. Some years you get it, some you don't. I actually ended up having less to no lice problems when I stopped using livestock dust. I found the livestock dust to be completely useless, and I'm sure people will argue with me all day on that. But that's not a bad amount of flies on her. You'll see, you know, the more thrifty the cow, the less flies. You'll see an old cow have a lot, you know, cow that's probably not as strong, not as good immune system, have more flies. I know it's the same thing with people.
Oh,
Some people have mosquitoes and flies all over them, other people don't even bother. Got some brambles. This is Japanese wineberry. It's like a type of raspberry. And it's here because this area was backfilled. It probably was a landscape thing. Once in a while you get berries from it. They kind of resemble thimbleberry, which we don't have around here. Right next to, here's our wild, this is my favorite fruit. Here's our wild black raspberry. You can tell these are gonna kind of dry up. They're not, well, here's a ripe one. We call them black caps because you pull this off and it's hollow. As opposed to a blackberry isn't hollow like that.
what do we got here?
Well, okay, so you asked, you thought maybe this is poison ivy. This confuses you?
Yeah.
Anybody know what this is? I know some of you do. Box elder seedling.
Oh, look at those wild gooseberries.
Yeah, see it's spiny?
Oh, those are pretty.
And that's a native, yeah, that's your gooseberry.
We can see the spines.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a vetch. This is not usually the vetch you see planted in hay fields though as a forage or in cover crops. This is crown vetch, and it's used for reclamation along, you know, quick ground cover, along roadsides, things like that. And there was a lot of it here in this gravel pit when I started grazing. I've made hay out of it to eat it. They do graze it. It doesn't handle grazing or mowing tolerance very well. And in a hay, it's really tough to dry. The other vetch is hairy vetch, and that's usually the seed you buy as a forage crop. And the old timers talk about hairy vetch would clog up the sickle bar mower. Remember the sickle bar we had as kids? And it's my sister videoing.
Yeah, it'd cut your finger off if you got too close to it.
Well, we got a lot of things. Remember most farmers all had fingers missing. Got a nice little pretty smoky colored calf over here. She's out of, there's her dam right there, this white face. They're over there behind that bush next to the black white face calf.
Yeah, she's like a light liver chestnut.
Yeah, she throws the prettiest calf.
You've had her a while?
Yep, I raised her. All these cows are ones that I calved out. My whole cow herd is.
Homegrown?
Yeah, my bulls I buy. Commercial or registered bulls, I guess. We like to have some pretty cows. Everybody does, I think.
I think you gotta like the look of your cows.
Yeah. Hey, mama. I would like to get some Herefords back into my herd. Because it undoubtedly is that hybrid vigor of the black white face calves. I mean, you see it.